Today is August 31st. The new patch with Runemaster is going to come out on September 7th, and I am very excited for it. We have started the very beginning of Hype Week, so even EHG is getting excited for the new stuff that's coming a week from now with Runemaster and the Exiled Mage and the experimental affixes, and those are all public information. We had Gamescom happen recently, and at Gamescom, there was basically a release of a whole bunch of information. So I had early testing with Runemaster. I was able to play Runemaster a lot and experiment with all the different skills, but I don't have an encyclopedic knowledge of it. However, thanks to Lizard IRL, who was at Gamescom, we have some, what I can only describe as Pepega quality screenshots, because they were taken with a phone. And we have a complete skill tree for Frostwall. So Frostwall is something that I have used. I remember very little of it. In fact, this node right here is the only node that I remember what it does. I'll tell you in a second. But I'm unable to use my early access stuff to show you skill trees because that would break NDAs and whatnot. But what I can do is show you this, because this was public information and it was a snapshot at one point in time of what the 0.9.2 build looked like. So without further ado, let's talk about Frostwall. We know that EHG, one of their goals with the introduction of Runemaster was to introduce more sources of spell damage over time. So Frostwall is spell damage over time. Hopefully you can read this. I know this website doesn't really do too well with me trying to make things bigger and smaller, but I recently updated my videos to be 1080p. So hopefully that works well for you, you YouTube audience, you. Let's take a look at Frostwall first, and then I will tell you what this one node over here does, because it's the only one that I actually remember what it does. So Frostwall, cold spell dot area int. I don't know the damage effectiveness because we forgot to take a picture of it. It creates a wall of frost. Wow. Which persists for 6 seconds. Enemies inside the wall will take cold damage over time and receive a stack of chill every 0.25 seconds. So you get those maximum 3 stacks of chill very quickly. You can have one active frost wall at a time. Enemies that reach the wall at least 0.2 seconds after it's been created are frozen for twice as long as the wall has existed, up to a 2-second freeze duration. The only thing that matters about this is if you put the wall on something, it does not get frozen. But if you put down the wall and then you keep running and the enemies chase you through it, they will get frozen. They will be standing in it and they'll continue to take that spell damage over time. So this is pretty good for leveling. That's what I used it for while I was playing with it. I didn't do too much with it beyond that. I know that this node here is a fire conversion, and you can have Frostwall deal more spell fire damage per ignite chance. And I have that written down on my list of builds that I would like to try, because more spell fire damage per ignite chance kind of sounds interesting. And maybe I get to compare that with Glyph of Dominion or something. So that's an idea with this node here. The other things that I remember about this, I'm pretty sure this node up here procs Lightning Blast. And there is a node that procs Fireball. So there, I remember 3 things about this skill. It didn't really make a good impact on me, but let's go ahead and read. Let's go see what's going on. We got 32 mana cost. Let's click. Going up from the center, we have Biting Limits. Frostwall has a chance to inflict a stack of frostbite to enemies inside the wall every 0.25 seconds. So you can put, it looks like 2 out of 4. Every 0.25 seconds, 100% chance 2. So if you get 200% chance 4 times a second, is that 8? Is that 8 frostbite stacks a second? I suppose so. I've never really been a fan of things that apply an ailment at a rate. Like 1 ignite per second, 3 ignites per second, 8 frostbites per second. I've never really been the biggest fan of those. We'll see how the rest of these nodes pan out. Frostwall deals more damage and has a higher chance to freeze enemies. So the freeze rate multi, I wonder if this would apply to the frostbites. Because frostbite, the freeze rate multi stuff that applies from your boots if you're using Snowdrift only cares about your global freeze rate multi, right? I guess this would apply to the so if you're using the Snowdrift boots, this would boost your frostbite damage on the wall itself. I suppose. But this is only 4% more damage per point, right? Because there's 3 out of 3 points allocated into this. So it's 4% more damage per point here. Let's keep going. Frostwall deals additional spell damage equal to a portion of your freeze rate multiplier. So there's more crossover between Frostbite and the spell damage over time. That's kind of cool. Huh. Spell damage per 20% freeze rate multi. Does anybody in Twitch chat have a quick, rough math of like how much freeze rate multi you can get if you're playing like a Frostbite build? Spell damage. 1 spell damage. Oh, I guess it goes 2. You can put 2 points in this. You can get 2 spell. You can get like 1 per 10. You can get 1 spell damage per 10 freeze rate multi. That's interesting. Okay. Let's go to the next node here. Frostwall's initial freeze has increased duration, and the wall deals more damage over time to frozen enemies. So this is everybody except for bosses, because bosses won't be frozen. Cool. All right. I like that. I don't mind that at all. You can get like 2,500 freeze rate. So that's per 10. So that's... You get 2,500 freeze rate multi? And then if you put 2 points in this, then it's like per 10. So you can get 250 flat damage if you're really going gung-ho on it. That's kind of cool. Okay, that's worth investigating. I like it. I like it. Let's see. We saw this one already, so let's go to the next. This one says, you're granted ward whenever enemies pass through the wall for the first time. So it's 0 out of 3, so you get 30 ward for enemies passing through the wall for the first time. Teleport gives 600 freeze rate multi. Interesting, interesting. We know that Runemaster has a lot of support for ward. And a lot of support for like, for ward per second, which used to be pretty bad. It was like ward per second's never really been a good way of generating ward. Generating chunks of ward or ward on hit, it tends to be a lot better than ward per second. But one of Runemaster's little sub themes is ward per second. So I guess this can help augment that. That's neat. This next node off to the far right, whenever an enemy passes through the wall for the first time and after it has existed for 0.2 seconds, you gain ward equal to a small portion of the enemy's maximum health up to a maximum amount of ward per enemy. So maximum ward 200. The fact that it has a cap is boring, but probably necessary, right? Okay. I'll take it. I don't like it. It doesn't have damage on it. Where's my damage, dude? But all right, I guess that's cool that it exists. It scales up enemies' health, but it has a maximum on it already. Oh, well. This node here is a little keystone node. It says Frostwall now casts Runebolt in the original target direction the wall was cast. So I guess this is like you to the wall, and then it'll cast it in that direction. The element of the bolts match the element of the wall, regardless of Runebolt's skill tree. This effect consumes 2 mana per projectile and does not cast if you're negative mana. Does it only cast it once? Frostwall not cast Runebolt in the original direction was cast. I guess let's see what their next node after this is, because the way that it reads, it only applies once, right? The next node is this. Oh, it's not only once. This should say how often it does it, right? It should probably say like once per second or something, because the next node after it is Runebolt frequency. That's cool. Okay. I assume it's once per second. But, sure. I don't know. Cool. Remember, there's built-in synergy between Runebolt and Frostwall. If your Runebolt, if you fire Runebolt through a Frostwall, it deals like 30% more damage or so. So there's already some synergy if you're trying to do like a Runebolt DPS build. You're already going to be using Frostwall. That's cool. Down here, Frostwall deals more damage over time per second that the wall has existed. So this is 2 out of 5 and it's 3 per point. This is a very similar more multiplier to what Entangling Roots has. More damage per second of existence. Remember, Entangling Roots as the Druid skill for Primalist has like the damage over time ramps up the longer that the enemy has been rooted by Entangling Roots. So that's interesting. If Frostwall shoots the Runebolt, does that count as going through the wall? I doubt it. But this is cool. Okay. These nodes and like the use of Frostwall as damage kind of reminds me of like a lap runner build in Arena, where like you don't really engage with monsters. You just like, you have some damage and then you keep running in a circle away from all the dangerous monsters, and then all the dangerous monsters follow you. So normally we call it lap runners, like a Shadow Dagger, Umbral Blades, Blade Dancer tends to be a lap runner, because at some point the monster's just like very scary and run away from them. This would lend itself well to being a lap runner as well. So I don't know, it's kind of cool. Remember, this is not particularly good for, I feel like this is not particularly good for bosses, but I don't know, maybe it is. We'll see, we'll see. What's this one here? This is the very bottom right of the skill tree. When you cast Frost Wall while having an existing wall active with more than half of its duration remaining, the existing Frost Wall is moved to the new target location instead of being replaced, and you gain mana equal to half of the Frost Wall's mana cost. Cool. This reads weirdly, but the fact that it moves instead of placing a new one has direct synergy with the node that we just read about. Deals more damage per second the wall has existed. Cool. Neat. All right. I like it. That's pretty cool. Let's keep going to the next one. We got a basic looking node here. Frost Wall is larger and lasts longer. Fellas. We have, nice screenshot, more damage multiplicatively to chilled enemies while you, oh, is this global? Oh, is this a global, you deal more damage to chilled enemies while you have an active Frost Wall? Okay, so if you want, you could use Frost Wall to buff your global cold damage the same way that you can currently use Ice Barrage to buff your global damage. The global buff from Ice Barrage is like 20% more cold damage, I think. But this is 5, and it's only a 0 out of 1 point. So I guess it's interesting that it's there. I like that. Next one here. This is... oh, this is the same thing we just looked at, just a better screenshot. This is the fire conversion. Base cold damage is converted to fire. Remember, fire and cold are pretty good elements for damage over time because it allows you to use not only Elidot, which is a strong affix, but it also lets you use the 2x2 idol, Throne of Ambition, for a more multiplier and a more armor multiplier. For Frostwall, chill chance converted to ignite, frostbite chance converted to fire, resistance, shred. The fact that they convert frostbite to fire res shred, I like that. That seems great. So chill is converted to ignite, frostbite converted to fire res shred. That does seem pretty good, doesn't it? I like this a lot. Let's go to the next one here. This is the fireball node. Yeah. Whenever an enemy passes through Frostwall, you have a chance to cast Fireball toward them. This effect consumes the mana cost equal to Fireball's mana cost. So 3 points is a 45%. Remember, your Fireball could have multiple Fireballs that spin and home and apply an explosion and pierce. So actually having this with your Fireball actually kind of sounds good. I don't mind this at all. Cyborg, you mentioned something that we talked about previously, and I don't want to let it skip by. That I didn't read that it was for 0.9.2, but I did read that. Can you confirm whether that was 0.9.2 or not? Because we'll touch on that later on. Next up, Frostwall's base cold damage is converted to lightning. So now we can have lightning damage over time. Remember, lightning spell damage over time also kind of overlaps with charged ground. So I guess charged ground could be cold if you convert that from static orb. But charge ground by default is just lightning damage over time, right? I'm pretty sure it converts if you go cold static orb, but I digress. For Frostwall, chill chance from all sources is converted to slow, and frostbite chance from all sources is converted to shock. They imply to a 0.9.2, and the answer was yes. They didn't flat out say it. Okay, gotcha. Let's keep going for this, lest we get off track. This is the one node that really stood out to me. I found this pretty interesting. Frostwall inflicts Brand of Trespass. The brand does not stack. It deals a large amount of fire damage, and it deals more damage equal to your ignite chance. We'd have to hold down Alt to get more information about this. Some of these nodes have said that they apply to Frostwall, but not to any of their subskills. So you'd have to keep an eye out for whether subskills apply here. So subskills are always kind of a weird thing. Remember, Frozen Thorn over here. Frostwall's initial freeze does increase damage. The wall deals more damage over time. Like this does not affect ailments or subskills. And this is This kind of looks like an ailment and a sub-skill, but yeah. So this would not benefit from that node. Just gotta be careful with it. Let's keep going. We got a few more to go. Frostwall grants you and your allies ward and mana when they first pass through the wall. These effects are doubled if the wall is placed at least 2 meters away from you. What's a meter? I don't really know. I think that's like half of a Bastion of Honor, right? We're about to get to a very busted node, but we're not quite there yet. So what's this thing? If you haven't cast Frostwall in the past 15 seconds, it has no mana cost and deals more damage. Cool. I wonder how this interacts with the moving Frostwall node. Because moving Frostwall probably counts as casting Frostwall, right? I assume, but it'd be worth double checking that. Yeah, here we go. Frostwall now cleanses negative ailments on you and your allies when they first pass through. So that's cool. I like that. A little bit of cleanse synergy. Not synergy, but like, having cleanse that isn't just tied to your belt prefix is nice. But like maybe there's some universe in which you don't need it as a prefix there. What is this? After you pass through your Frostwall, your next direct runic invocation or Glyph Dominion is empowered. An empowered spell cast this way costs less mana, multiplicatively less, and it deals more damage for each second the wall has existed before you're walking through it. So if you cast the Frostwall at the edge of your screen, and then you walk toward it, and then you walk through it, and then you cast your runic invocation or your Glyph of Dominion, you'll get 30% more damage per second it took you to walk through the wall. 30% more damage per second that it takes you to walk through the wall. That sounds like it's ripe for abuse for one-shotting tier 4 Julra. Doesn't it? Doesn't it sound like this is the Konami code that you need to type in before? Yeah, that's an enormous multiplier. Considering that there are runic invocations that have a lot of damage. And we know that there are runic invocations that always crit. Huh. And even Glyph of Dominion. We saw a Glyph of Dominion recently. It had some pretty good damage on it. This is awkward, but if you want to one-shot a boss, this is probably part of the Konami code. All right, let's keep going. One of Frostwall's pillars... Let's go like this. One of Frostwall's pillars now casts Lightning Blast at nearby enemies when you first pass through the wall. So it only casts it once. And it'll cast it at up to 4 enemies. Sure. I suppose. Frostwall's outer pillars will cast Lightning Blast at other nearby enemies every other second. So it casts Lightning Blast every 2 seconds, and this is probably frequency, right? Yeah, after Frostwall has existed for a short duration, its outer pillars. Yeah, then the frequency is here. Maximum frequency bonus, sure. All right, cool. So it can shoot fireballs, it can shoot lightning blasts, it can be converted to, I guess it's cold by default, convert to lightning, can be converted to fire. I don't think it casts any cold skills, does it? We'll see what the rest of the stuff is down here. Where's the most busted node? We haven't even made it to the most busted node yet. All right, we saw this one already. Frostwall grants you and your allies ward and mana when they first pass through it, plus 6 mana. It's 3 per point, so it goes up to 12, sure. How about this one? This node perplexes everybody who reads it. You now cast Flame Ward on you or your allies, excluding their minions, that pass through your Frostwall if it has existed for at least 0.2 seconds. This effect consumes mana equal to a larger amount of Flame Ward's mana cost, but does not put Flame Ward on cooldown. So if you have the mana for it, or mana regeneration, or mana refund in some way, or you're just a dedicated Flame Ward person for your team, you can give Flame Ward to you and your party members perpetually. I'm real skeptical of this. because it seems absolutely busted if you have friends. If you don't have friends, this node is not particularly strong. But if you do have friends, holy shit, dude. Whew. Let's keep going. All right, Frostwall now creates runic detonations after a short duration, dealing spell cold damage when you pass through it. Cool. Is this like the cold skill that it procs? It's like equal to lightning blast, equal to fireball. The runic detonations from runic conclusion intensify, destroying the wall in the process and dealing more damage in a larger area. This is 0 out of 1, but 1 point in this for 50% area, 60% more damage. This is the runic detonations deal more damage in a larger area if you're facing away from the wall when the detonations occur. First of all, I think this is adorable because cool guys don't look at explosions. But as long as you're looking away from it, it creates runic detonations after a short duration when you pass through it. So if you walk through it and you don't turn around, it'll deal 10% more damage and have some extra AoE. It's adorable. Come on. Cool guys don't look at explosions. It's pretty cool to me. I think that about does it for the entire skill tree. So we have a base cold skill. It converts to fire. It can scale off of your ignite chance. It can shoot fireballs. It can convert to lightning. It can shoot lightning blast. It can buff your team with flame ward. It can cleanse ailments. It can give you ward per second. Those are the things that stand out to me after having read it just now. Oh, and then the one-shot Konami code, which I'm not sure if it's good. I'm not sure what the use case is for it. But where was that node? Yeah, this node here, this Aspirant's Arrival. This node is like begging to one-shot tier 4 Jorah. Yeah. So that's about it. I'm sorry that I don't have the damage effectiveness or exactly how it scales off of int because I wasn't able to hold down alt. And Lizard was very tired by the end of Gamescom when I was asking him to take these pictures for me. So shout out to him for both being at Gamescom and being willing to take these pictures for us. I look forward to I look forward to September 7th when I'm actually able to play this stuff, but almost more so, I'm looking forward to the rest of Hype Week when the broad general public gets to learn things that I have been not talking about for the past few weeks. Because there is some juice out there, and it's going to be so fucking exciting to talk about. So I'm looking forward to that on September 7th, and I'll see you then.